Welcome to Coupa Software and DPAA tutorials. This tutorial is about saving and comparing status data, and this is an important feature in DPAA because it's allowing you to take any status provider, RAR, save its output, and at a later date, call it up and compare it to a current status or mania status from a different time. So this is an important feature to be able to have, and we're going to show you a couple of good examples here. So I have a couple of appliances I'm looking at a domain, and I've got an object status that I'm going to run, and one of my favorite object status is to run what's very easy to do in DPAA. Mr. Run object status where the admin state is enabled but the aux state is down. That means something's probably wrong with that. You don't want to disable it so it's disabled and down, or you want to find out why it's down, because if it's enabled and down, it's probably not in a good state. So I'm going to go to the failure dialog, and I had saved one of these earlier, so there's another tutorial on how to go about doing all of this that I'm going to save one. I'm going to pull up more than I have saved, and I'm going to apply it, and I'll order of the object status here. You see I've got a number of objects where the admin state is enabled and the ops state is down. So this is kind of interesting. This is today and now, and it's like, okay, this is something, so, maybe all of this is okay. But one of the things I can do is if I go to the hamburger menu, I can capture this status data as it is today or right now. You can do it from hour to hour if you want to. But the idea is I can capture this data now by selecting this capture status data. And when I do that, DPAA just says, hey, we just successfully saved that. But another thing that I can do is I can compare it to a status that I'd captured earlier. So you can see there's a couple of them here. And so what I want to do is I want to grab the one that I saved earlier, and I'm going to select next. And then what property names do I want as the mechanism of comparison? And in this case, I could select all of them, or I could say just the DataPower class and the name, or any number of them. So I'm going to select Finish now. What I end up with is a side-by-side screen. And you'll notice that there's a different title above each one of these. And one of them says, Current Status. This is the status that I just ran, and the status that I'm comparing it against, and the date that this was created in SAG. Now, there's a lot of fields here, and so I've got the DataPower class. You'll notice as I expand the width of this column, the other tables column expands with it. And if I move a column in one of these, the columns line up in both windows at the same time. You see this happening. So that's very convenient to be able to do. And then I can scroll around. And right now, this is the earlier status. And you see all this in here, but you see two blank rows here. And if I select on most and control click or command click on the other rows, you can see that when I captured this object status earlier, there was a certificate that was down because the file was expired. So this can tell me that someone may have updated this certificate file and updated it with a file that's no longer expired. And that's also really convenient to you because you've been seeing what changes from time to time. Of course, you may see this the other way around too. You may have seen this where over on this side the file is expired, but on this date it wasn't expired. So it can be useful in those kinds of ways so you can quickly compare something from one to another. Now in this particular case, I did object status with a filter, but you don't have to do an object status with a filter every time. This is a convenient filter to run. So that's a pretty good example. And then we're going to show you another one. So I'm going to go down here to memory status, and I'm going to go run a memory status for a long while, and we're just going to let it run a bit. And what it's going to do is it's just going to create some memory entries in here every 2 seconds, and we're going to run this. And again, at any time, I could go to this hamburger menu, and I could capture the status data if I want to. But one of the more important things that we generally do when we're graphing numerical data is we might want a graph, and a graph can tell us a lot of things about what's going on in the data itself. So generally speaking, when we're graphing, when we had a graphable entry, we can compare the numbers, but the numbers aren't easily as comparable as, say, like an admin state or an auth state of an object. The numbers are better compared when they're sitting within, say, a graph that we have. That's available to us. So I think we got plenty of information now, so I'm going to select the stop to stop it. And then what I'm going to do is I can go and save this graph data, but I can also compare the graph data to an earlier time. So I'm going to select that, and every time you save one, it's going to give you the date and the time in which it was saved. So I'm going to select this catcher, and then select next. What graph definition name? So in other words, I may add more than one graph. I can add 10 different graphs here if I need them, but it's going to then say what graphs do you want to compare. What since I only have one, there's only one listed, but if I add more than one, then it would list ones and I could select which ones I want to compare. Then when I select finish, what DPAA does is it shows those two graphs stacked one on top of the other. So what you can see is the title says comparing current status for memory status top to the one taken at this date on the bottom. So this is the what I've just captured. This is what it looked like on the bottom. Now again, it's not the same time frame, but that's not the point. Generally speaking, when you want to be able to use this, the greatest thing you can do is say, okay, I'm going to capture for 1 hour, and then I'm going to save it. And then maybe another day you capture for 1 hour and approximately the same time of day. And then you can compare that to yesterday, for example, when you captured that same data for approximately an hour. So that's the use of it, and that's how you would like to be able to use this. But the graphs are very useful in this way. The graph comparison is useful in this way because they can show you those comparative times. Now, another cool thing that you can is watch there. So I'm going to create a new kind of graph. Watch this. Say, the whole memory is not really what I wanted to do. So I'm going to right now, I'm going to add a graph, and I'm going to select usage, and I'm going to select finish. And then I'm going to grab the usage tab here, and I'm going to say, okay, well, that's what the usage looked like then. Well, I'm going to now compare graph data. And notice it says a currently display output field and been reset. Oh, I saved it. Sorry. I want to compare it. So I want to compare it. So I saved it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in this earlier time frame, and I'm going to select next. And now I'm going to select usage. And notice this wasn't there before. Even though I captured the usage now, right? I did it expressly and capture the units. I didn't expressly capture the usage before because it wasn't there, and it works this. DPAA is smart enough to construct the usage data from the previous capture, and it's able to do that. So this is a usage data I've just captured or just grabbed, and this is the usage data from the previous time. So even if you didn't create the graph today, you captured that data, DPAA can reconstruct that data on the graph from the data in the catcher. So that's very, very powerful. So DPAA is anticipating you may want to see other graphs of other data, even though those graphs don't exist on the day that you actually make that catcher. Very, very powerful feature here. You get a hard jump on it anywhere else. Again, you can spend a lot of money on competing products to get this feature, but it doesn't cost you any more than that ability right here within DPAA. So if you had any questions or comments and you want any some help, go out to www.compasssoft.com. Go to the contact us link there, put in your information, and somebody from Kumbasoft will get back to you. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.